Hello, today I'll be talking about my top 10 favorite movies of 2022. And this will be in no particular order. As of now, that's a bit too tough for me. But before I go into my top 10, let's go ahead and start off with some honorable mentions. The first one being Smile, which is a movie that commercially did way better than I thought it would, which is definitely really cool because I think this is overall easily one of the best horror movies that came out this year. And if you like horror, definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. The next honorable mention is the movie The Menu, which is a bit of a more recent movie that I saw. And yeah, definitely a movie that has its share of standout performances, especially from Ralph Fiennes and Anya Taylor-Joy. You find yourself really invested in some of the characters, especially Anya Taylor-Joy's character. But yeah, if I had to guess, this is probably not a movie I'd watch over and over. And of course, I could be totally wrong about that in time. But as of now, still a great movie, I'd say. Next, we'll be talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once. Definitely a unique movie that came out this year. I mean, especially with just visually just what you're seeing sprinkled throughout the movie or throughout the movie in general. I mean, all around. Pretty interesting movie experience. You have Michelle Yeoh, if I pronounced her last name right, in this movie, and definitely brings a demanding performance. You find yourself really invested in her character especially, but yeah, overall, pretty interesting movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. But next we'll be talking about Prey. Now, going into this movie, I had very low expectations because going into this, I was one of the people that was thinking, why are we making this movie? Why is this necessary? Is this really necessary? And stuff like that. But after watching it, I ended up enjoying it more than I thought I would. It's definitely better than the previous Predator installment, The Predator, which is easily the worst of the franchise. But Prey, better than I thought it would. Actually, pretty good, I'd say. But next, we'll be moving to Scream 2022. Now, going into this movie, I wouldn't say that my expectations were super low, but kind of more towards, I guess, the middle, kind of neutral, I guess you could say. But I mean, looking back at the Scream franchise, I think Scream 4 is easily my least favorite of the franchise. I mean, yes, I even like Scream 3 more than Scream 4, which might be unpopular to say, but I seem to like Scream 3 more than some people. But I actually like that movie. One of the weaker movies in the franchise, I agree, but honestly, again, I actually like it more than 4. But with Scream 5 or Scream 2022, I ended up liking this more than I thought I would, and overall, has me excited for what they'll do next or what they'll do with Scream 6. Yes, I did see the teaser trailer, but next we'll be moving to my final audible mention, and that is Hellraiser 2022. So yeah, going into this movie, yeah, I'll admit I did have some low expectations, especially since you have no Doug Bradley as Pinhead, but this time you have an actress, and I thought she did a fairly good job as Pinhead. And with the new characters, I actually like the new characters. I didn't really have a problem with any of them, at least that I can remember at the moment. But overall, I actually had a pretty good time with this movie. But that's it for my honorable mentions. Let's go ahead and move on to my top 10, again, which is in no particular order. But the first movie in my top 10 that I do want to talk about is Top Gun Maverick. And yeah, I knew after seeing this, I knew this would easily make my list. I mean, for a sequel that came out decades after the first one, this is actually pretty damn good. I mean, you can tell this was a movie that Tom Cruise really cared a lot for, and you can tell he really wanted to get this right. And all around, just a really great sequel, really great movie all around in general. But yeah, I even like the new characters. I don't recall having an issue with any of the new characters, again, at least that I can remember, but still all around, pretty great movie, pretty great sequel. The next movie in my top 10 is the last movie I watched, which was Avatar: The Way of Water. Now, before I saw this, I did have to give a rewatch to the first one, Avatar, and I actually really enjoyed the first one, and as of now, I'm still not sure if I like the second one more than the first one. But I would say that it's at least as good as the first one, because I think this sequel is overall pretty damn good, and in my opinion, worth the wait. Again, the visuals, to no surprise, are great, and sure, some people might have some nitpicks or some criticisms towards the story being too basic or simple or anything like that, or derivative or whatever. But for me, I still found myself invested in the story and invested in the characters all around. Really great movie, really great sequel, and definitely has me excited for what James Cameron will do next with the next Avatar sequels. So the next movie in my top 10 is the movie X, a slasher type of movie, you could say. Basically about these group of friends. They look like they're maybe around my age or a little bit older than that, maybe late 20s, who knows. But either way, these group of friends rent this house that this old couple owns, and they go there to film a porno, and the wife of the older couple sees what's going on, and things start to go downhill from there. And yeah, this was a movie that I really had a really great time with, and definitely had me excited for the prequel, which is the next movie in my list, and that is, of course, Pearl. I mean, when it comes to prequels, they can be fairly hit or miss because sometimes they can be predictable, or they'll be answering questions that you weren't even asking or cared to ask. But in this case, with this prequel, I think this was actually really good. Like with the movie X, you do find yourself invested in the characters in this one here, and yeah, Mia Goth, definitely an actress to look out for in modern times. I mean, her performances in both movies are really good, and yeah, Pearl, definitely a great prequel. This definitely has me excited for the next installment in this franchise, that of course being Maxine. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie in my list, and that is Clerks 3. Now, I know not all Clerks fans were into this one, but I know a lot of people. I do know that a good number of fans were also into it also. But while I would say it's not as funny as the first two, still, I was actually really into this movie. I mean, you can tell this one's a bit more emotional, a bit more darker, especially when you move towards the second half of the movie. I mean, you do definitely feel some emotional weight in this one, and I think overall was executed fairly well in this movie. I know some people were not big on that aspect of the movie, but for me, I think it worked. I think it made up for the lack of humor, I guess, or lack of funniness. Because, I mean, and don't get me wrong, there is some funny moments in this movie. There were some moments that did make me laugh, but again, didn't make me laugh as much as the first two. But still, with even saying all that, I still overall was pretty impressed with Clerks 3. But the next movie in my top 10 is The Batman. I mean, it might be a very lengthy movie, but I'm one of the people that I didn't really feel the length of the movie all that much. I was so invested in what was going on that, again, didn't really feel the runtime. But yeah, when it comes to the characters, I don't recall being underwhelmed or unimpressed with any of the characters. I remember liking everyone. I mean, and honestly, Robert Pattinson as Batman, I bought it. I was into his take on Batman and Catwoman. Not bad either. But yeah, The Batman, definitely great. And when it comes to superhero movies that came out this year, it might be at the top for me. But next we'll be moving to The Black Phone, which, I mean, when it comes to child acting, this might have some of the best that I've seen. I mean, pretty damn good. And also, Ethan Hawke is in here, and to no surprise, his performance is definitely one of the highlights here in this movie. I mean, definitely a movie in general that just all around really wowed me, and definitely had to make my top 10. The next movie in my top 10 is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and with not having your main star, without having Chadwick Boseman, I think they did a fairly good job not having him here, and shown that they can move on without having to recast the character, at least in my opinion. I mean, I understand that Black Panther was a very important character to the MCU and all that, but at the same time, after watching this, I think they've shown that they can move on, or the MCU can move on without him, or can move on without having to recast the character. At least that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, overall, I mean, again, really enjoyed this movie. Yeah, it is on the more lengthy side, but kind of like with The Batman, I didn't feel the runtime all that much. There might be a couple moments here and there where you can kind of feel it a little bit, but not to the point where it gets frustrating. But yeah, really enjoyed Wakanda Forever, and I even saw it twice in theaters too, two separate theaters though, which meant that I got two different collector's popcorn buckets and cups. So that was pretty cool. Next movie in my top 10 is Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. And yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the first one, the first Knives Out, which I did see in theaters, but honestly, I think I might like this one as much as the first one. I'm still, even all this time later, I'm still not sure which one I like more, but I would say that is as good as the first one. And yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, definitely check it out, but of course, see the first one first if you haven't seen it. And now to the final movie in my top 10, which might be the most controversial one, arguably maybe, and that is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So yeah, directed by Sam Raimi, and I seem to have enjoyed this movie more than some people. I mean, you kind of get a horror element in this movie, and overall, I think it worked, and that was actually one of my favorite aspects of the movie, honestly. It brought something a little bit different to the MCU, and I overall like Sam Raimi's direction here. And also, Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen, definitely one of her best performances as Scarlet Witch in this movie. Maybe her best, arguably maybe, but yeah, I was all around really into this movie, actually. And again, seemed to enjoyed it more than I expected, but out of all the movies in this top 10, this might be the one that could be replaced by some of my honorable mentions. This is really the only one here, potentially maybe Clerks 3, arguably maybe, but of course, again, this is a list that could change at any time. But yeah, my final movie for my top 10 is, again, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So yeah, that is my top 10 favorite movies of 2022 of this year. Let me know your top 10 or top 5 or whatever in the comment section below. Of course, let me know if you have any honorable mentions, of course, and all the good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and a like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.